Hello. Today we're gonna make some meatballs. A couple people asked me about meatballs. Phil and Zerlina, holla holla. And so, first thing that you need for meatballs is le mito. In that case, the one with the more white in it there on the top is ground pork. The bottom's ground lamb. Same lamb, the exact same lamb that I made that lamb leg off of. Not some random shit I bought at Kroger. Pasture raised both. That sausage is from Walnut Ridge Acres, which is a farm that we buy from that we've been friends with for a long time. And then you're gonna take some wine, okay? And then the meat. And you look at the meat and then you drink the wine. Okay, and that's step 2. And then I'm gonna do this one little thing. I think it's called a panache. But what you do is you take this little bowl and you tear up some bread. Particularly a good usage of like bread that you got that's kind of going old. Tear some of this shit up right here. Okay. And then, here, huh? Then pour some heavy cream over that bad boy. Y'all ever seen that? That's kind of how we do bread pudding too. Very clutch. I'll tell you why. Hopefully you watched my dairy video and you know what the hell heavy cream is and where it comes from. But if you did, then you would know it's essentially a ton of fat. And the thing with a meatball, nobody wants a dry meatball. Nobody wants a hard meatball. You know, we got to keep this shit moist, spongy, absorbing, all those goodies. So this is going to help us do that. We let that sit for just a minute. This is called a spoon, okay? I just took a shower. My hair's a little out of place. Sorry about that, girls. You know I love you. All right, mix in that. I'm gonna actually add in a little bit more too, because that's kind of dry. It sucked that cream right up. Okay, and then you see I got the chopped up bell pepper, chopped onions, shit tons of garlic. And basically we're gonna, what you guys would probably call marinating our bread in heavy cream. All right, there's that. What else do we need? Eggs. Not too dissimilar from meatloaf. Meatloaf, I would think, would be a little heavier. Probably wouldn't do the bread and the cream, the panache in that deal. These are eggs from my farm, my little chickies out back. And I might show you something here. Can you see the color of that yolk right there? Bright orange. That is because my girls be out there eating grasses and bugs and all kinds of things, developing omega-3 fatty acids so that my kids grow up big and strong. Okay. This here, called mise en place. Everything in its place, right? Let me move the shit so you can see it. El mito, panache, egg yolks, egg whites, whole eggs, Step one. This is the part that people forget. Season that meat. There's like 2 pounds of meat right there. So don't season it like it's 1/4 pound with cheese. Season it like it's 2 freaking pounds of meat. If you ain't got it, you're kind of missing out. This I got the lamb and the pork in there. Beef and pork's traditional, but use whatever. It doesn't matter to me. Sort of like salt. Think of it like salt. Ground Parmesan. It's also a binder. Like the breadcrumbs and the other shit that we're gonna do. I don't know that you can put too much Parmesan in freaking anything. Okay? I'll probably put more in. Step 7, more wine. All right, I know that was a whole entire clove of garlic, like a whole head of garlic. It's Italian. If you don't like your meatballs garlicky, move to Sweden. I'd say 3 eggs. I kind of ballpark it though. Probably half or 1/3 of this. And that was like 3 slices of bread. Now, and part of what I'm doing there, when you put too much shit in there, you can't take it out. You put a little bit in there, you can come back and adjust it, and I'll show you how we're gonna do that. This is a half a bell pepper. A green bell pepper and a red bell pepper are the same pepper, if y'all didn't know that. One's been on the vine a little longer generally. That is a half of sweet onion. And kind of like we said, the important thing is fat in a meatball, right? We want tons of fat in a meatball. So it's okay to add some olive oil. I put in a little Worcestershire. All right, and then we're gonna take the seasonville. Fennel seed, which is actually kind of like the main flavoring ingredient, really. That's what makes Italian sausage, basically. So if you want it to taste Italian, put garlic and fennel in the shit. Parsley. And this ain't no half a teaspoon, 1/4 teaspoon bullshit. I want it, if we're gonna use a spice or an herb or a seasoning, I want to be able to taste it. That's the whole fucking freaking point. I like a lot of oregano. I think that's like kind of my, I don't know, I love it. Now, this case here, my hands are clean. Currently do not have the coronavirus because I sanitize myself with copious amounts of wine. Look up resveratrol and its prevention of the flu. Free tip. Okay. This is my right hand. Now something else. The more you work the meat right now is cold. Everything I'm putting in here is cold. Your hand is 98, 99 degrees. So when you do that, you're melting some of that fat down. So you're gonna lose some fat. So you don't really want to work it up too much. And this is one case where you don't want your meat hot, warm, room temperature. You don't want that shit, right? You want it all cold, which is kind of a general rule of thumb. Anytime you're working with ground meat, always keep that shit cold, because the whole point of having ground meat is that you got fat in there, right? And we don't want any of that fat to dissolve out before it needs to. It's about control. All right. Now, okay. Looks pretty good. I'm not opposed to putting the rest of that bread in there. Like I said, that's going to make it like, give it that spongy texture and that really cool meatball feel to it as compared to a hamburger. All right, hamburgers don't have panache in it, right? And I don't think there's a problem if you are into gluten-free or whatever. I don't think there's a problem with using gluten-free bread to do that either. So I wouldn't trip on that. Now, that's basically it. Here's the key part that people screw up on. Grab some, patty that bad boy out. Okay. We're gonna take a little taste of her. Just that. Put it in the pan. Taste it. Then we're gonna adjust it back afterwards. If we don't taste any of the shit in there that's supposed to be in there, we're gonna put more in. It doesn't take long. It's worth the investment. Now, there's a reasonable debate on do we pan fry, do you bake, do you deep fry, what do you do with your balls? I like to bake my balls, but, and I'll tell you, here's the difference. When you, where's this freaking thing at? When you bake them, I like to bake them on a higher temperature. Why? Because of that heat pounding the outside, and I want a little texture variation and some crusting on it. So when you bake it, if you bake it on 250, it's going to kind of fall apart, right? You're not going to get that textural shit on it that you need. Pan frying it, you kind of get that texture. So if you want it crustier, you can do it in the pan, and then you can throw it on a sheet tray and throw it in your oven, and you can finish it out at 300 or whatever. They cook faster than you think they do too. I would say 150 on the interior when it comes out of the oven is good. In the very center though, which is like going to be a small window of opportunity to get your thermometer to read the exact part, which what you can do is you can put it in there and you take the coldest temperature reading. When you push that needle all the way through in and out, if it goes from 180 to 170 to 160 and then back up to 170 because it's going back out the other side, that means it's actually at the lowest temperature that you read it at. All right, so let's take a bite of this bad boy. And I have no concern of like eating pork really any different than beef. I think that was like back in the day, back when pigs used to eat people's poo-poo or whatever it was. That we don't happen to live in the OK Corral out in Tombstone anymore. These animals are like living the way they're supposed to, not eating garbage. All right, so let's try this bad boy. Scrumptious, smelling scrumptious. I'm a one-man show up in here. Definitely needs more salt. No big deal. Add that back in. We'll add some fennel. We'll readjust. We'll I like to form them into like, I don't know, 3-ounce balls or something. Pretty significant. Gives you a little bit more of a window. And I think it's fun in the restaurant business when people come in and you give them monster meatballs. You know, it's the small things in life, folks. But anyway, that's basically a meatball. I'll show you a picture in the comments, I guess. In the end, I'm adding some more seasoning. I'm adding more everything. Bold. Peace.